Published 2022 Est, the 8th of November 2017. Updated 2023 Est, the 8th of November 2017. Whereas she demanded MPs when Priti Patel was summoned to the Commons on Tuesday afternoon to explain her extraordinary summer holiday in Israel. She is currently in the air, replied her deputy Alistair Burt as he began the delicate task of explaining why his boss had held 12 unauthorized meetings with Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, during a family holiday in August. 24 hours later, the whole world knew exactly where Miss Patel was rolling. News channels were broadcasting live footage of a website showing the progress of a Kenya Airways flight from Nairobi as she returned to London to face the end of her ministerial career. Priti Patel was taken away from Downing Street from the back gates after resigning from the government tonight. Downing Street published the exchange of letters between Miss Patel and Mrs May tonight. At one point almost 25,000 people had logged onto the Flightradar24 airline tracking website to follow the progress of flight KQ100 as Miss Patel made the 8.5-hour journey home. Shortly after 3 p.m, the Boeing 787 Dreamliner landed and grainy footage showed the diminutive International Development Secretary leaving the jet. Miss Patel was still afforded a VIP greeting at a rainy Heathrow, however. While her fellow passengers headed for passport control and baggage reclaim, she was given an umbrella escort to a waiting courtesy car. This whisked her to the other side of Terminal 4, where a ministerial limousine was also waiting. The sleek Ford moved out of the airport and, almost immediately, Miss Patel's WhatsApp social media profile sparked back into life, starved as it had been of any Wi-Fi service during the flight back to London. Miss Patel entered the famous building by the back door shortly after 6 p.m. before the fateful talk with Mrs May. Theresa May, pictured arriving in Downing Street tonight after her regular aunt with the Queen, has summoned Miss Patel for showdown talks. A BBC helicopter hovered over her car as it headed down the A4 into London. Those were divided on whether the situation was more reminiscent of murder suspect O.J. Simpson's famous white Bronco chase by Los Angeles police or a scarcely believable scene from fictional BBC Two political comedy The Thick of It. Either way, it was a very modern farce being played out on 24-hour TV news, Twitter, websites and any other social media platform of your choosing. Miss Patel had been ordered home on Tuesday night after Downing Street discovered she had been less than frank with the Prime Minister during a face-to-face meeting in Number 10 on Monday, where she was supposed to provide disclosure about her clandestine talks with senior Israelis. Miss Patel apologized to the PM and promised not to repeat her behavior. She also promised she had revealed everything. On that basis, Number 10 had, through gritted teeth, gone out to publicly defend her, despite her flagrant breaches of both the Ministerial Code, which governs the conduct of ministers, and basic diplomatic protocol. The plane carrying Miss Patel arrived back in London from Nairobi at around 3 p.m. today. So there was cold fury in Number 10 on Tuesday evening when officials discovered that Miss Patel had failed to mention a further secret meeting with Israel's Public Security Minister Gilad Erdan in London on September 7. The first thought was to sack Miss Patel on the spot, even though she was more than 4,000 miles away in Kenya. But when Theresa May's Chief of Staff Gavin Barwell telephoned her, she blustered, I can explain. So a decision was taken to order her home to face the but any slender hopes of survival were fatally undermined yesterday when she was reported to have made another unauthorized trip to a hospital in the Golan Heights, an illegal Israeli settlement which the UK has not recognized since it was annexed from Syria 50 years ago. Miss Patel arrived in Nairobi at 9:30 p.m. for the start of what was supposed to be a three-country tour of Africa with International Trade Secretary Liam Fox. Instead, after a sleepless night in the grand surroundings of the British High Commissioner's residence in the Kenyan capital, Miss Patel caught the first flight home. Miss Patel was driven away through the gates after drawing a line under her time as a minister. We know now that she spent at least part of her business class journey composing her resignation statement. On landing, Downing Street left her to sweat for 3 hours while the Prime Minister carried out her regular dance with the Queen. By 6:22 p.m. a smiling Miss Patel was pictured arriving at Downing Street, entering through the rear entrance. She was swiftly followed into Number 10 by a rather less cheerful Mrs May. At a little after 7 p.m., as her marketing consultant husband Alex Sawyer was seen leaving the family home in southeast London, Miss Patel's ministerial chauffeur whisked her away from Downing Street. From today, the courtesy car won't be available to her. August 13 to 25, International Development Secretary Priti Patel travels to Israel with her husband and son on a family holiday. She holds 12 meetings with Israeli politicians, diplomats and interest groups, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, without any UK government officials present. The meetings were arranged by Tory peer Lord Pollack, honorary president of Conservative Friends of Israel, who accompanies her to all but one of them. August 24, the Foreign Office becomes aware of Miss Patel's presence in Israel after opposition leader Yair Lapid tweets a picture. September 7, Miss Patel meets Israeli Minister for Public Security Gilad Erdan in the House of Commons, again without telling the foe. September 18, Miss Patel meets Israel's most senior diplomat, Yuval Rotem, in New York. November 2, Theresa May holds talks with Mr. Netanyahu in Downing Street, but the PM is still unaware of Miss Patel's visit. November 3, BBC diplomatic editor James Landale breaks the story that Miss Patel held several undisclosed meetings, and quotes anonymous ministers accusing her of trying to win favour with wealthy pro-Israeli conservative donors who could fund a future leadership campaign. Labour calls for an investigation into whether she breached the ministerial code. Number 10 calls it a private holiday and says no probe is taking place. Miss Patel brushes off the reports, telling The Guardian that the Foreign Office and Boris Johnson knew about the visit. Monday, Miss Patel is hauled into Number 10 and given a slap on the wrist by the PM. She is forced to clarify her suggestions that Foreign Secretary Mr. Johnson knew about the visit in advance, and that the only meetings she held were in the public domain, neither of which was true. Tuesday, pressure grows on Miss Patel as she flies to Kenya on a pre-arranged visit. Yesterday, Miss Patel is ordered to get on the next flight home for a showdown with the PM, after more revelations overnight. Miss Patel did not inform the PM about the September 7 meeting with Mr. Erdan despite demands for disclosure. This lack of openness seals her fate and she is forced to quit.